Myanmar's ousted president is now facing 2 new charges. His lawyer says they involve violations of the constitution, may be punishable by up to 3 years in prison. Meantime, protesters against the military coup confronted police again, despite the increasing risk of violence. The sound of gunfire could be heard as police moved towards hundreds of protesters in Yangon. There were no immediate reports of injuries. CNN's Paula Hancock's following all of these developments live from Seoul. Let's start with the charges, though, against the president. Exactly what are those charges? What's the sort of the violation here which is alleged?
Well, John, it's a good question. I mean, President Win Myint now has 4 charges against him, and this latest one, breaching the provisions of the Constitution and Act of the Parliament. That's pretty much all we have from his lawyer at this point. There's no clarity as to exactly what he is alleged to have done to be against that particular law. But what we're really seeing is that as time goes on against Aung San Suu Kyi and also against President Win Myint, we are seeing the charges increase. So they now both have 4 against them. And just that one, last one against the president, as you say, it carries a prison sentence, if found guilty, of 3 years, and that's just 1 out of the 4. Now, at this point, we understand, certainly in Aung San Suu Kyi's case, March the 15th will be the next time when there will be a court hearing. There was one earlier this week, just by video conference, but it's really an indication that these charges are racking up from the military point of view. Of course, both say that they have not done anything wrong. Now, also, there is a bit of a battle going on at this point in the United Nations as to who exactly the proper and right ambassador for Myanmar is in the United Nations. Now, just last week we saw Kyaw Mo Tun. He gave an impassioned speech asking for UN member states to do more to help Myanmar. By the weekend, he had been fired by the military leadership as he was clearly supporting the protesters and the democratically elected government. And now, of course, the UN has this tricky situation of who they should be recognising and who should be sitting in that seat. So this really is an issue that's going right to the top. The United Nations now, the latest place where the military leadership is trying to assert its coup and say that they are the rightful government in Myanmar. John?
At the same time, there's that battle for the diplomacy and who gets to represent Myanmar at the UN. There's the battle on the streets as well between protesters and security forces, which seems to be taking a more violent turn the longer this goes on.
It does, yes, and we've seen this, John, over recent days, that the level of violence that the police are willing to take or are permitted, potentially allowed by the military leadership to take against protesters has definitely increased. Sunday alone, there were 18 people who were killed. The UN at this point believes that 21 have been killed at least so far. And we are seeing this now on a daily basis this week. Already this Wednesday as well, we've seen in a number of different cities some fairly violent clashes between protesters and police. There are still the calls around the world calling on the police, the military, to stop use of force against protesters. It's not being heeded at this point. In fact, the military leader, Min Aung Hlaing, actually said that he backs police and he thinks they're using minimum force. But clearly the videos that are seeping out of Myanmar that are being posted on social media, live streams of these clashes, show that the level of violence is unfortunately increasing. John?
Paula, thank you. Paula Hancock's live in Seoul with the very latest. Thank you, Paula.